Our movement to schools actually led us to schools where girls couldn't afford at all the sanitary pads.
She didn't have milk. We were in the depot COVID, and they told her, no, not the formula. Give us breast milk.
During that class, I asked Mark, Joe, what is on your mind? There were several children. Mark drew someone that was holding guns and shooting at people.
I know that the community is generous, but I was wondering why they weren't generous towards people living with epilepsy.
The question remains, where are our Ugandans?
That is when we citizens came up and said and forced the district to appoint a district service commission.
The mothers who gave us are from the community. The babies we give this milk are in the community.
We read a book every month, and then during the meeting we collect 20,000 shillings each to buy books to put into a public school that's closest to the leader of the book club for that month.
We took 40 hikers. But for you to come, you must contribute a particular amount towards buying sanitary pads for girls.
So the school decided that the children who have epilepsy were given bursaries.
We need to see a country where everyone understands that they have a role to play in making a difference in the communities.
You may say that donors are abroad when donors are here. Somebody donating 10,000, another one giving 2,000, and when they all pull together, you put something tangible that can help communities.
Away from the misconceptions that we have about what epilepsy is, we really are a community and we're givers, and it still brings us together when we know the right information about something.
It's a simple philosophy: I am because you are.
For generations, Ugandans have given quietly, consistently, and with deep heart. This documentary uncovers what many overlook: the neighbor who steps in, the community that rebuilds itself, the giver who never waits for recognition. Here all along is a tribute to the everyday generosity that holds us together. It is a reminder that the power to sustain our society has always been ours.
There was a commotion at the district headquarters with the district leadership failing to appoint a district service commission. And you know, without a district service commission, service delivery in the district is paralyzed. That is when we citizens came up and forced the district to appoint a district service commission. That is how Mbuga started. We forced the district. We even took it to court. We even won the case in court, and the High Court directed the district to appoint a district service commission. You see, it has been continuing because it has the support of the people. You might find at some stage we need like fuel, and we fundraise from the people. You see people fundraising, giving us fuel so that we are able to move from area to another. Citizens have been supportive to our activities. Otherwise, we wouldn't have achieved what we have achieved without the support of the population. There is what we call Harambe, the Harambe movement, which we started here as Mbuga, so that all pull together, people can pull together resources. An example is Ankwere Western University. They were putting up a science block, which was storing, and we came up as Mbuga. We solicited from the communities, and we raised 1,200 bags of cement. So we took 2 trailers to Ankwere Western University, and the university that cement helped the university to complete that building. The resources that we use are generated from the locals themselves. We have never got any foreign aid. The moment the people see what they are doing benefits them, people can contribute. Donors are here. For us, we have been getting donations to achieve what we have achieved. Rokari.
Some Ugandan actors are pooling local resources from individuals, the private sector, and friends to support community-focused initiatives.
So when it comes to social justice, I look at a world or a Uganda where everyone should feel the need to be part of the solution. Our movement to schools actually led us to schools where girls couldn't afford at all the sanitary pads. I also didn't have money to give the pads. You have maybe like for 20 girls, but the girls who need are like 70. And you're like, how do I address this? So I would reach out to them to ask, why are you not coming to school? Why did you miss last week? And I found out that these girls were actually hiding from the possibility of staining their dresses because they are actually in their periods. So I had to have conversations with them and encourage them, please don't allow menstruation to limit your opportunities to education. Every time you miss school, learning happens. I started asking Ugandans and different people out there to support the campaign to keep girls in school in relation to menstrual hygiene. So I found out that for me to actually help these girls, I needed to have more hopes who believe that we all can do something to help these young people. In the beginning, I realized that many people who were coming to help and support this were outside Uganda. They were away, far away. But the question remains, where are our Ugandans? So in 2017, I started a campaign which we call Hike for Girls. And we designed it in such a way that we shall take Ugandans to different parts of the country. But we put a smaller condition that for you to come, you must contribute a particular amount towards buying sanitary pads for girls. The fact that they can actually reach out to another young girl, meet them face to face, listen to the girls, for me that was the game changer. When you look at the girls, the number of girls we have since supported as a result of the hikes, we are talking about over 75,000 girls who are now able to attend school daily. And this year, 2025, was our biggest hike, because this year we expanded. We went beyond Uganda. We had a hike in Tanzania, we had a hike in Kenya. So we are building a movement. We are building a movement of social justice. We have to stop looking at organizations. Look at you as an individual. You have a lot you can contribute, both in your community, in your family, and in your nation.
I always choose to say, Atta started from the wings of love. Our founder, Tracy Ahumuza, when she was expecting her firstborn baby, Alisa, in 2021, she knew at birth this child would need a surgery. When a mother has a baby by C-section, the first couple of days, there is no breast milk. Comes after maybe 4 days, at times others up until a week. So she didn't have milk. You were in the deep of COVID and baby needed milk. 3 days later, Alisa passed. And when she passed, Tracy had breast milk, so much of it. She asked the medical team what she should do with the breast milk. All they told her, we can give you medicines to dry this milk. That didn't sit well with her. Tracy, anyone who knows Tracy, she's a solution finder. That is how Atta was birthed. From the love, from the grief, from finding solutions for the babies in need, Atta started. We are community-based. The mothers who give us are from the community. The babies we give this milk are in the community. It took a mother to go through it to know that, wait a minute, this is a need. By the time Atta started, there was no one doing what we are doing. It required a local philanthropist to see the gap and fix it.
The Purple Bench is an organization that is here to support people living with epilepsy and their caregivers. We do advocacy, and one of our main things is creating awareness needed to help people understand what epilepsy is so that we can reduce the instances of injustice that happen towards people living with epilepsy. One of the things that inspired me to come up with the Purple Bench was my own personal experience living with epilepsy, but also was the background that I had having done sustainable development. We're using the ABC model, the asset-based community development. This model looked at people giving more than the outside community gave. So, for instance, the community itself would give 60%, and then the outsiders of that community would then bring in the 40. I know that the community is generous, but I was wondering why they weren't generous towards people living with epilepsy. So I had the opportunity to join the two. So the asset-based community development model is so key in the work that we're doing because epilepsy is not necessarily one of those things that are funded easily. This model has now gone from the 60 that I initially talked about, and it's becoming more of an 80-20 because the caregivers will bring together the food and source the charcoal. In essence, it makes the person take it on as their own. For instance, I find a very joyful opportunity and day was the day that I was told that some of our children within the school in Masaka were given bursaries. So the school decided that the children who have epilepsy already have so many challenges, and they did not want to let education be one of those.
My name is Agatha Twaire. I am the Executive Director here at Agora Center for Research. It was started by a group of activists that had already been activists but working individually. So what we did was that even before we started Agora, we were sort of coordinating efforts, and we were all individually writing about corruption, writing about human rights violations on social media, because it's work like any other. You put in a lot of effort, you put in a lot of time. I think you put in more time in activism than someone who works in office. I think we work about 16 hours a day, most of us at Agora. So we started Agora for it to be a digital public square where we inform people. And the other things that we came with the resolve that ours will be evidence-driven activism. That's why you've seen the exhibitions we've done. They have documents, they have pictures, we have, but also answer the question, so what? If there's corruption, so what? So you tell people what this means. Agora has always had this idea of raising resources from within ourselves as a community, as Ugandans. And this is a conversation we've had since we began. And I was telling the person who was telling me that we need to first do some work and cultivate that trust so that you cannot go to ask someone for money without anything to show for it. Fortunately for us, I think within just a year we had such a big impact that now if we went to ask for money, everyone would know they see the work we do. There was an old woman that was evicted by NEMA. When she left prison, I said, but she even has nowhere to go because they had already demolished her house. So people started sending me money to contribute to her getting a house. In fact, someone even contributed a plot of land where she can build a house. So I handed over the money to her. I think I collected about 10 million shillings.
Even without large budgets, these efforts help communities understand their rights and engage in organized, peaceful ways.
My name is Kaponge Apori, and I'm the Executive Director at Western Angoli Civil Society Forum. At the organization, we do work around 3 areas: civil society strengthening, social accountability and governance monitoring, and also protect human rights and civic freedoms. In our work, we developed a strategy called the Triple E. Under the Triple E, engage, equip, and empower. We work with communities or engage them to actualize, to understand the problems they are facing, and we discover with them the resident capacity, skills, and resources they have, and also develop tools that would help them to deal with this. In view of the Triple E, after we have conceptualized the problem and understood it very well, we put it together, and then we invite stakeholders, each collectively, to add a brick in form of either resources, either in form of skills, or otherwise in form of time. It could be technical capacity, so that everyone is making a contribution. It could be financial. So we flag these initiatives to the public and stakeholders and request for their support. And we receive so many people coming in to provide valuable resources, valuable tools, and expertise in trying to resolve these challenges that communities face at a given time. For example, a project we have a pork market in Ushenyi, which was being sold by stakeholders. Out of that, we needed to run a campaign so that we engage government to be able to take action and stop the sale of the market. We packaged the issue using the Triple E approach, and then the communities raised up to 10 million towards this campaign, and we were able to use the money to finance the different activities that were pertaining at the time. And out of that action and the resources that were provided and the people that participated in the campaign giving their time and expertise in writing letters, petitions, and otherwise, and also participating in the public action, we were able to save the market.
My name is Gerald Kancha, and I'm the founding member of the Rwanda Listeners Club. It's initially it started as a local grassroots-based kind of like organization that was supporting local communities that were addressing or fighting back against, for example, harmful investments, ideally focusing on social justice causes. Rwanda is simply more or less like talking about a collective call for community members to work together. The word listeners, the radio programs are rallying communities about let's come, let's join hands and resist land grabbers, let's resist evictions. And the listeners was a platform. People who were now, because the radio program had panelists, the listeners were were a platform. So it became a radio talk show. A radio talk show became a listeners club. So it became like the listeners of this popular radio talk show became an organization. This organization was equally focusing on national issues, especially the niche now is focusing on development finance investments that are harming or having a negative impact on local communities. Of course, one of the best, I would say, models out of this organization's kind of work has been how to utilize or tap into local community resources to advance social justice movements. The role is really simple: to try and support communities, come together. Ideally, support communities, get together, facilitate them to help them to better implement some of the programs that they think are best. For example, helping them identify what kind of resources they need to use, identify the clear pathways to remedy. For example, one of the biggest, I would say, impediments to accessing remedy has been the pathway to remedy.
Creative actors, artists, digital storytellers, cultural groups are using their platforms to promote inclusion, gender justice, disability rights, and community solidarity.
My name is Sekito Kale Emmanuel, and I'm the founder of Faces Up Uganda. Faces Up Uganda is a youth-led, community-based organization that is creating life-transforming opportunities for vulnerable young people to learn, to heal, to earn so that they can thrive at school and in life. The entire desire was, how do we create opportunities for children and young people using art? There's a little boy who came and joined one of our classes. His name is Mark. Mark drew someone that was holding guns and shooting at people. We realized that this boy was a refugee from South Sudan and he had a lot of trauma. He never had the opportunity to share what he was feeling with anyone. He never even had the vocabulary to express what he was feeling. A little boy called Kato, he was out of school. He spent almost 1 year non-study because his father had lost his job. He could not continue with school, but yet he was supposed to be in school. He was almost into a candidate class. Kato could come at our center for classes. You could spend a lot of time drawing, learning, researching, all these incredible things. We asked ourselves, how do we get Kato back to school? We didn't have the resources. We didn't have the grants. We asked ourselves, what is it that Kato is doing that you can use to get resources to take him back? We go to all his artworks and transform them into postcards. I asked people, can you buy these postcards? We sold over 350 posters. We got money to Kato back to school. We paid for him entire 4 year. This idea around philanthropy is not new. Back then, the entire community, people could come in, give in firewood. People could come and fetch water. The conversation around philanthropy has been embedded in who we are as Africans.
My name is Raymond. I am from Soma. Soma is not an organization. It's a community of book readers. We meet once every month. We read a book every month. And then during the meeting, we discuss the book that we've read. And then at the end of the book reading, we collect 20,000 shillings each to buy books to put into a public school that's closest to the leader of a book club for that month. And so ours is really a community of readers that is also aware of the role that we have to play in encouraging other people to read. And we play a very limited role in the sense that we buy books for public schools. Public schools are the heart and bane of working class, low-income earners, who are the majority of our community. And part of what literature does, part of what books do, is they open up the world for people. So we play that limited role of trying to provide books so that if the children encounter with those books, then they might have a chance to open up their worldview, but they might also have a chance to have the same access to literary material as their other counterparts in private schools who would ordinarily have gotten those from their parents and from people who are slightly more moneyed than them. First, the very idea of justice and fairness, and in many forms, equity, not equality. The very idea of those things is rooted in our ability to see other people as ourselves. It's a simple philosophy. I am because you are. And the role that social justice plays in that is to make sure that if your circumstances are much better than other people, you should be able, whilst your circumstances are much better, to provide, at least create some equity in the community where you come from. We are a community of book lovers, and the members of the book club are the ones that mobilize the resources, whether those are intellectual or those are physical or financial. The first and key resource is that you must belong to a community.
I wanted the world to know my community, not for what they've come to know of it, but for what it is able to do. My name is Rick Ronald, and I am the founder and convener at Gallery Foundation. The mission was going to be achieved through key pillars. One, through the game of chess, through mentorship, and through exposure visits. Because in the very concept of chess, it's that in chess, a small one, which happens to be the pawn, can become the big one, which happens to be the queen. The smallest piece on the board becoming the most powerful piece on the board.
My name is Joan Valentine Namazi. I'm a chess coach with Gallery Foundation. Basically, chess is a brain game, a mind game. It teaches confidence, patience in life. So it helps one to improve on thinking, decision making in life, patience, and for the children, a child can come out very bright and sharp in life.
We have people that have contributed to this cause by pledging and committing to sponsoring children to get access to education, and some of our children are on life scholarships. I'm happy to say that we've been able to scale the game to at least 18 districts, different chess clubs. These people have been able to support in helping us build structure and strengthen our systems, but also they've contributed to the activities we do, and the most important bit, they've contributed to the mission with exposure visits.
My name is Cherop Mark Sherilej, and I'm the team leader at Sebei Nation. Sebei Nation is a non-government organization that seeks to promote the Sabini culture through festivals, charity, and arts. And we basically started this organization because we wanted to tell the stories of our people. We wanted the Sebei story to get out there. Sebei Nation basically relies on community-driven giving. We largely enjoy our presence on social media, that we have over 80,000 people across all our platforms. And these are people that when we tell stories, we are able to mobilize resources to support causes in community. We have different artists that subscribe to Sebei Nation, and they sing stories calling out for social change, passing different messages. So for example, end of year, artists that subscribe to Sebei Nation, we can organize annual concerts for them. And even when we promote these concerts, we clearly tell the people that a certain percentage from this concert will go to community development initiatives. And people come out to give because they know at the end of the day there is going to be something for community. I think one thing that we have done very well is clearly telling the authentic stories of our communities, that we are able to document and profile stories of communities, and these stories appeal to the conscience of people to give in for development. So one key contribution that we've been able to do is to write and tell stories. We've had children who have lacked school fees, and even just by telling their story, how it is, people have come in to give in school fees, people have come in to contribute even to the welfare of teachers in community schools. We've been able to re-energize communities to believe in themselves, that there are things that community can do on its own, even without waiting for government intervention or even other external sources of funding.
Community philanthropy in Uganda is growing, but it faces real constraints. Some actors still believe meaningful social justice-related work must be resourced from outside. Others struggle with visibility, organizational strengthening, and long-term resourcing.
My name is Tigere Rose, and I'm a co-founder, but currently the executive director for Women Rights Initiative. WORI is a grassroots organization. Basically, we work to support survivors of gender-based violence. That is one of our niche programs. We envision a society that is free from violence, that also recognizes the needs of rights of women and youth. We run currently a shelter for domestically abused women and children, and it is the largest shelter in Uganda. It has capacity to host 34 survivors if it's full to capacity. But the birth of the shelter comes 9 to 10 years along, when we're already implementing work. As we're journeying to start the Nyonga Women's Shelter, as a grassroots institution, we looked at all the odds that were available for us, and we knew for sure that no one was going to give us money to buy land. One of our staff brought in a very brilliant idea. She mentioned that she knew how to bake, and she could teach us how to bake, and would bake over a certain period of time and collect money. And she taught us how to bake. She brought in her oven as a way of supporting the work, and it was the first that we used to begin our work and bake. And of course, we baked for 3.5 years, a lot of muffins, a lot of cakes. Eventually, in 2015, we were able to raise money, and in 2016, we bought an acre of land where today the shelter sits. One of the first challenges that social justice work faces in Uganda is, of course, perception. The thinking that when an organization is being run or when it is being established, it has a whole pool of money out there. Quite a number of organizations have done it differently. They go to these communities and then they give them money to converge for meetings, to converge for engagements. And so when you go to them with a different strategy, it's quite hard to just allow them understand that what we are doing is a cause for all of us. And so you being a part of it is one way in which you're going to benefit. You're going to have access to information, you're going to have access to knowledge, you're going to be skilled, and at the end of the day, you are a better person than just getting the 20,000 shillings that I'm going to give you today for you to take home and buy a kilo of fish, and that's it.
One of the challenges local philanthropists face is lack of visibility, because also the places where we need to get visible, you need money. So there is impact of putting the funds in the actual work versus putting it on the visibility scale. You're like, no, let me keep going. We have lots of restrictions. Many of local philanthropists, for you to operate, you've got to register, to go through a couple of registrations. The restrictions and the requirements are so many. By the time someone is done going through an entire registration of something, say an NGO or what, the mistakes made are quite many, the requirements are quite many, then there is loss of time during that entire process. The time which would be used to impact and do the project that you intend to do is spent in doing all these things.
You see, holding leaders accountable to the people is not easy. It's not easy, and you see, you are fighting with those people that have stolen huge amounts of money. Times we would measure roads. There was a time when the engineer was working on a road. It was a 3-kilometer road. He reported that he has worked on 3 kilometers. We measured, we found it was just 1 kilometer. So the man had eaten 2 kilometers. So we had to put him accountable. So most of the challenges we face is dealing with those people that are loaded with money, which is they steal from the taxpayers. And they are always against us for holding them accountable to the people.
There's a huge challenge in care for epilepsy altogether, whether we're looking at the health part or we're looking at other social challenges that come with it. But the challenge that we find the most is not being able to make as much awareness as is necessary for the magnitude of the problem.
I think one of the biggest challenges that we face is trust. The issue of trust. That in Uganda it is difficult to trust people. So even when you are working on a very important cause, people start asking, what is your motivation? That's from the political side. Aren't you doing this for political gain? But also, aren't you going to squander this money? Because people are used to people in the country squandering resources, public and otherwise. So the issue of trust, I think, for me undermines the intention of giving. And I think for us to be able to improve we have to also make sure we address the issues of trust by demonstrating that if we get the literal resources we get, we are able to use them very well so that people can entrust us with more and more and more as we build along.
Yet Ugandans are already investing in their own initiatives. With more recognition, more flexible backing, and supportive conditions, this work can reach even more people.
So let's build a world where everyone understands that giving is universal. There's a lot that we can give, and then the money problem can always be solved later. I always try as much as I can to avoid linking any of my issues to money, because money will always come.
The role of local and community philanthropy in Uganda's social justice ecosystem is clear. It is close to the people, it understands context, and it helps communities sustain the work they care about.
As our communities, we should mobilize ourselves to solve our issues, which because we are the closest to the challenge, and the challenge affects us the most. So we should take the initiative to be the leaders and the drivers of addressing these challenges.
To community members, your skill, time, spaces, and contributions matter. To civil society and local funds, keep documenting and sharing what works. To development and philanthropic partners, invest in Ugandan-led, community-driven initiatives. To stakeholders who shape civic and development spaces, keep creating conditions that make local giving easier and safer. When communities support and participate in their development processes, transformation isn't only unstoppable, but sustainable.